The man shouted his wife's name at the standing stones. And to his shock, his voice traveled back 200 years, reaching Claire on the other side of time. Overwhelmed, Claire called back to him, though separated by centuries. He too heard her reply, but when he turned around in hope, there was no one there. Likewise, when Claire reached the stones, she found only the shawl she had dropped. The day she first traveled through time, she knew that if she touched the stone again, she could return to her husband. Just as her fingers were about to make contact, redcoat soldiers suddenly seized her. Claire was frantic. She had been just a centimeter away from returning to the man she loved. Meanwhile, her husband was left confused and shaken. He thought perhaps he'd imagined her voice. Heartbroken, he turned and left. Ever since Claire had mysteriously vanished, he'd searched the world for her. Frustrated with the police for getting nowhere, he was told she'd likely run off with another man. Refusing to believe that, he offered a huge reward for any clue. But weeks passed with no word. A friend suggested a theory. Perhaps Claire was swept downstream during a river surge that day, and disoriented, she took shelter in a cave and got lost in unfamiliar terrain. The husband found this far-fetched and absurd. Upset, he went to a bar to drown his sorrows, where a mysterious woman approached him, claiming to have news about Claire. She showed him the reward flyer and promised answers at midnight at a secluded location. Following her lead, he went to the meeting spot, but when he asked for Claire, two men ambushed him, demanding the reward money. They underestimated him, a man with Randall's blood in his veins. He pulled out a small hammer and swiftly took both of them down. But even after winning the fight, he didn't stop. He kept striking, driven by rage and pain. The woman, terrified, tried to stop him, only to be hurt herself. Luckily, he caught himself in time. Back home, his friend urged him to give up, that if Claire were alive, she'd have returned by now. Wandering aimlessly would do no good. The words got through. He packed up to leave the Highlands, but left Claire's luggage behind. A part of him still held on to hope. What he didn't know was that Claire was now living happily with her new husband Jamie. In the past, the family's maid tried to share a legend. She knew about the standing stones, but the friend dismissed it as nonsense. He didn't want to feed false hope. Unbeknownst to them, the husband overheard everything. Intrigued, he asked to hear the story. The maid told him of the stones. How, at certain times, they possessed the power to send people through time. No one knew where the stones would send you, but all who went through, she said, eventually found their way back. Maybe Claire had traveled through time, but as a man of science, he couldn't bring himself to believe it. Still, as he drove away, he caught a glimpse of the hills where the stones stood. Despite his disbelief, he turned toward them, just in case. Back in the 1700s, Claire was in the forest on a mission with Jamie. Left alone in the woods, she wandered and stumbled across the same stone circle. For a long moment, she stood conflicted. This was her chance to return. But now, she was Jamie's wife. She knew disappearing would destroy him. Yet in 1945, her husband was likely just as heartbroken. After long hesitation, she chose to return to him. And that's how we arrived at the scene from the beginning. But now Claire had been captured, dragged off to face Captain Randall, the brutal ancestor of her husband. The question now is, how will she escape his clutches this time?